Right, so while you were scrolling through your phone today, NATO might have just collapsed. No, I'm not exaggerating. Donald Trump has threatened military action against, wait for it, Denmark, a NATO ally. Let that sink in for a moment. And the worst part, Europe's response has been absolutely pathetic. Stay with me, because this is genuinely mental, and it reveals everything wrong with Europe right now. So, here's what's happening. Trump wants Greenland. Not metaphorically, not as a negotiating tactic, he actually wants to take control of the world's largest island, which happens to be an autonomous territory of Denmark. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Trump says mad things all the time, this is just rhetoric. Except this week, the White House officially stated that using the US military is always an option to acquire Greenland. The White House press secretary actually said that, on record. And remember Venezuela? Yeah, Trump just swooped in militarily, grabbed their president, and took him into custody. So when he threatens military action, we probably shouldn't laugh it off anymore. Denmark has made it crystal clear. If America takes Greenland unilaterally, that's the end of NATO, the transatlantic alliance that's protected Europe since World War II. Done. Finished. Over. Now, here's where it gets properly absurd. At the exact same time Trump is threatening to invade a European NATO ally, European leaders are in Paris trying to convince him to help protect Ukraine's sovereignty against Russia. Let me repeat that. European leaders are asking America to defend European sovereignty in Ukraine, while America is actively threatening to violate European sovereignty in Denmark. You literally cannot make this up. It's like asking someone to help you stop a burglar while they're actively burgling your neighbor's house. And NATO's response? They can't even discuss it. According to insiders, European NATO members can barely bring themselves to contemplate what happens if Washington moves on Greenland militarily, even in private meetings. Right, so how did Europe's mighty powers respond? Well, initially there was deafening silence from Britain, France and Germany. Absolutely nothing. Eventually, 6 European countries, not all 27 EU members, just 6, issued a joint statement saying security in the Arctic should be decided collectively, and that Denmark gets to decide matters concerning Denmark. Groundbreaking stuff that. Really strong leadership there. No direct criticism of the US, no consequences threatened, just a polite suggestion that maybe Denmark should get a say in whether their territory gets annexed. The White House responded within hours, essentially saying, yeah, we're still doing this. They completely ignored it. And you know what the worst part is? European officials are literally admitting their own weakness. One EU official told the BBC, this whole situation has just underlined once again Europe's fundamental weakness vis-à-vis Trump. So why is Europe's response so feeble? Because they're terrified of Trump. When Trump slapped 15% tariffs on EU goods last year, what did the EU do? They swallowed their pride and promised not to retaliate. Why? Because they're dependent on American military protection. The EU also failed to financially support Ukraine using frozen Russian assets because they didn't want to appear strong and risk annoying Trump. Europe has become so dependent on American military power, intelligence, air capabilities, and command and control that they literally cannot stand up to Washington even when a NATO ally is being threatened. Stephen Miller, Trump's deputy chief of staff, said it perfectly. Nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland. And he's right, because Europe won't. This isn't just about Greenland, this is about the complete collapse of the international order Europe has relied on for 80 years. Think about what this means. NATO's Article 5, the whole all for one and one for all principle, apparently doesn't apply when one NATO member threatens another. There's no mechanism, no plan, nothing. The former US ambassador to NATO said this situation risks breaking the EU and represents an existential dilemma for NATO. And she's right, because if America can threaten military action against Denmark while demanding Europe increase defense spending for NATO, what does NATO even mean anymore? We're watching the alliance disintegrate in real time, and European leaders are too frightened to do anything about it. Every year, the EU talks about playing a greater role on the global stage, becoming more independent, strategic autonomy, all these grand phrases. But when it actually matters, when an EU member and NATO ally is being threatened, they fall apart. They can't even get all 27 members to issue a joint statement. Britain, France, and Germany, supposedly the big powers, are too worried about their bilateral relationships with Washington to stand together. This is what happens when you outsource your security for 80 years. You become so dependent that you can't defend your own allies against your protector. The Greenland crisis has exposed that Europe has no agency, no unity, and no spine when it comes to Trump. So, where does this leave us? Well, Denmark is on its own. NATO might be functionally dead, and Europe has proven it won't stand up for its own members. Trump has called Europe's bluff, and there was nothing behind it. The question now isn't whether Trump will take Greenland, it's what else he'll demand, knowing that Europe won't do anything to stop him. Welcome to the New World Order, where America does what it wants, and Europe watches nervously from the sidelines, hoping they're not next. If you found this concerning, you should be. Share this with someone who needs to understand what's actually happening right now. And let me know in the comments, do you think Europe can ever stand up to Trump? Or is the alliance already over? I'll see you in the next one.